Cool.
Avril gave me the thumbs up, so I just started. Plat Chat Mini. I'm not calling this an official episode, Avril, because we're just here hanging out. I'm producing. It's just the two of us. It's 8 p.m. my time currently, so you've woken up, you had breakfast. But look, I just wanted to get Plat Chat back on track somewhat. We've been quiet for like a month, and there's been a lot of news going on. There's open qualifiers going on. And so we're just back. How are you, man?
This is a half episode. This can be Plat Chat episode 249.5.
It's low-key a big deal, the 250. And I'm like, I don't know. For the longest time, I was like, I want to do a mega episode, but that's not going to happen.
A mega episode with everybody. We bring everybody in.
Yeah, I'm not even going to say what it was, because I might do that at some point, but I had a big project in mind. We'll save it. Right. Yeah. But there's been a lot of stuff that's been happening. Obviously, the open qualifiers are taking place this weekend for OWCS. And earlier today, because we're recording now on Friday, the partner teams were announced as well as the stage 1 kind of viewers guide here. So without further ado, let's just kind of jump into it here. The viewers guide for stage 1, and some of this we've already talked about when it comes to the format and stuff like that. We know there's 3 stages, there's 3 live events taking place, promotion and relegation, and obviously basically feeding into OWCS and some different seeds here. So but I think we wanted to talk about was the partner teams, but is there anything you had additionally that you're really excited about this year when it comes to the prior stuff?
Yeah, China is back. We haven't talked about China entering Overwatch again. Not just OWCS, but the whole server's back. There's the whole like Aaron Keller put out Blizzard put out with Aaron Keller's face. The thing about they're getting I can't remember the exact quote, but like a lot of skins, including mythics. They're basically getting like seasons 1 through to 9 worth of skins and mythics, something like that. Like I could be. It might not exactly be those seasons, but you know what I mean? Like, they're basically getting a lot of skins. Basically, it's like, please come back to our game. We will give you just an insane number of skins, including mythics. We'll do anything to get you back. So, honestly, I respect it. I think it's a good move. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, you have to get those people coming back somehow. And there's been a lot of discussion that with Marvel Rivals and everything, but we're not going there today. But that is the way, because they missed out on so many seasons. So, you know, there's an opportunity for them to catch up. I am excited to see some of that Chinese talent as well coming back to play officially in OWCS. So yeah, it's going to be really good. Hero bans, of course. We're going to see hero bans introduced. There was no hero bans in the Swiss stage starting now, but I'm pretty sure there will be hero bans in like the last 2 days. So by the time this episode comes out, for the last 2 days of bracket play in the qualifiers, I've heard rumors that there is hero bans. I haven't read the Faceit rules myself, but then obviously you get hero bans all of stage 1 as well. So that's going to be really exciting.
Yeah.
Do you want to chat about the partner teams, or do you have anything on hero bans before we move on?
Good move. I like hero bans. They already did in Super Cup as what I assume to be like the trial for this, even though in a way, EWC was kind of the trial for. So we've had like 2 trials of hero bans now. I think the system's pretty good. And they kind of nailed the speed of it in Super as well, so it didn't take as long as World Cup. So I mean, at this point, I think most of the downsides of hero bans are kind of like not big deals anymore. So I'm happy about it.
Yeah, it's going to be real exciting. So let's get to the partner teams. And there's been a lot of rumors. There's been a lot of drama about this. I feel like for the past month, about a lot of talk about this org is going to join in. I feel like Cloud9 is one of those teams that was rumored for the longest time. But at the end of the day, we'll look at this graphic. And your partner teams is going to be for EMEA. It's Gen G, Twisted Minds, Virtus Pro. North America, we got Space Station, Team Liquid. And for Asia, we got 4. We got Crazy Raccoons, T1, Team Falcons, and Zeta Division. So I'll start here, Avril. Any surprises with this year's partner teams, especially given what we heard the past month?
Well, we were supposed to get 3-3-3. We got a 3-2-4. And so I guess the surprise is we don't have a third NA slot. But I think it's a good compromise in the sense that we got Zeta in, because Zeta probably would have missed out if it was 3-3-3. So Zeta probably deserved to be in. When you looked at the orgs that we had last year in 2024, you looked at Asian specifically, you're like, man, these orgs between Crazy Raccoon, Falcons, and Zeta are like really important. Like, these are big orgs, and it'll be a shame to not give out partnerships to these orgs. But then we know that T1 is going to come in, and T1's like the biggest org in Korea, so you kind of have to fit them in. There's T1 probably would have been among these 4 Asian teams the number 1 priority to give a partnership slot to. So if I was Blizzard, T1 probably gets, priority number 1. They instantly get a slot, and then you choose 2 more between Crazy Raccoon, Falcons, and Zeta. There were rumors that Falcons might have been asked to potentially go to EMEA. Falcons probably are unlikely to go there just because they want to keep their Korean roster. If they go to EMEA, they can't have their full Korean team. Falcons would rather win and have the best team in the world, or at least have a top 2 team in the world, than unfortunately go to EMEA and have to try and make a hybrid roster work and kind of fight their way through against the Twisted Minds, Virtus Pros, or whatever's of the world, and then not be able to compete properly with Crazy Raccoon and T1. They would have preferred to stay in Korea, but then if Falcons stay, then Zeta might miss out. So then Zeta gets in because Cloud9, well, C9, the meme is C9 the entire partnership. So they C9 the partnership somehow. I don't know exactly what went on behind the scenes. I've heard so many different rumors, and I would get into the rumors except for the fact that I don't want to disparage C9 or Blizzard or anybody because I don't actually know what's true, because I've heard conflicting rumors. The problem is the rumors I heard behind what happened to C9, they're not exactly aligned, as in if one rumor is true, the other one definitely is not, which means one of them is definitely not true, which means it would be like really it wouldn't be right to like actually dig into like, oh, this is why C9 left. It's like, well, that actually might not be right because there's multiple different rumors and only one of them can be real. So, but yeah, I've heard multiple stories of why C9 didn't end up being in, but there was also the NRG situation as well, which we all heard behind the scenes. One thing I did hear pretty consistently was that like NRG was the 4th team because they were going to have Liquid, Space Station, C9, and NRG ended up being on the outside because there was going to be 3-3-3, right? NRG was the 4th team. And you can, people can take their guesses as to why they think that was the reason. But NRG didn't make it in. And then whatever happened to Cloud9, supposedly, this is only a rumor, I have to make sure that this is a rumor, they wanted NRG back, but NRG at that point has already fully exited and they weren't interested in coming back. And also it was late enough in the process that NRG probably felt like they wouldn't be competitive enough to compete for a top-tier North American roster. Look, it's not like Korea, where even the 4th best Korean roster, pretty competitive still. Actually still pretty competitive. If you're getting the 3rd best roster in NA, you're probably not that competitive anymore, especially given the fact that now, and we'll, at some point, actually we moved past it already, but there's only 2 teams per region that make it to LAN. So if you're NRG and you only get the 3rd best team in NA, you're not going to LAN. So that's a problem for NRG as well. So yeah, the reason why NRG probably decided not, so they were denied partnership because they were the 4th team, the 4th best team according to Blizzard standards or whatever their value and criteria was. And then when C9 dipped out, NRG weren't interested in replacing C9 because of the reasons I said. Supposedly, that's the rumor anyway. So
yeah, it's very interesting how we ended up with 4 Asia teams, I feel like. And if you look at the orgs, it makes a lot of sense. Obviously you got T1, like you said, and Falcons makes sense, but then also your big hitters like Crazy Raccoon and Zeta Division as well. But if you then look at what you mentioned earlier about the slots, right? There's still only 2 slots for Asia, not counting China, of course, which have 2 slots themselves, right? And then, maybe we'll get to that later, but there was some rumor about the rule book giving more slots to better performing regions. We don't know what's going to happen with that. But I'm curious, like, how you quantify this even, because missing out on NRG, I feel like that is a loss for the scene, considering how much effort and passion and content they poured into the scene. That does feel like a pretty big loss. There's a lot of fans of NRG, and you saw this last year, even though they were never, like, NRG was like one of the worst performing, quote unquote, like bigger teams in the region, especially how they bombed out in stage 4. By the way, if you're typing something to me, I can't see it. But
no worries.
But and then like there's just straight up fans of NRG, that they tune into Overwatch Esports and they are NRG, they are shock fans, right? And when they went from students of the game to NRG last year, that was such a massive deal, and just how they like reinvigorated the shock Twitter account and all of those prior shock fans and people who kind of maybe were feeling a bit lost after the Overwatch League they attached themselves to that NRG Shock roster. It was really exciting. Rack Attack, PGE, lots of great faces on that team. And then, even though they weren't one of the best performing teams, like, they were still, you know, massively popular within the region. Now you look at this, and I look at just, if you look at face value, I can't really argue with any of these teams. You know, I can make a case for why every single one of these franchises made it. But when it comes to the 4 Asia teams, I'm like, it does leave me like a sour taste in my mouth that we didn't have like an NRG as a third team, instead maybe one of the 4 Asia teams.
Yeah, and in 2020 hindsight, right, if NRG was just offered the slot in the first place instead of C9, then we'd have 3-3-3. We'd have the 3 NA teams.
We're assuming, yeah, that it'd be 12, or sorry, yeah, there'd be 3-3 instead of 3-3-4.
It was originally meant to be 3-3-3. I think even there was a prior announcement it was meant to be 3-3-3. All the teams were operating under the not the assumption, the knowledge it was 3-3-3. And it was 3-3-3. It was meant to be Space Station, Team Liquid, Cloud9, and then 3 for Asia. Don't exactly know who the 3 for Asia are. I know T1 was definitely one of them, and I'm pretty sure Zeta was the one that would have missed out. Team Liquid makes a lot of sense because I think one thing that Blizzard OWCS team do want to value is size of org, but also like, okay, they're following and stuff like that, but how big of a presence they have generally, even especially outside of Overwatch. And Team Liquid is a big org that I think Liquid might have been part of super early Overwatch 1, but they were definitely not part of anything post Overwatch League, right? Overwatch League
2017 Contender Season 0 was their last tournament.
Exactly.
So that was middle of 2017.
They didn't play anything after Overwatch League launch. And that, to be honest with you, a lot of teams did it. TSM had a team, then they dipped out. FaZe had a team, they dipped out, right? A bunch of teams played up until Overwatch League, and when they didn't make Overwatch League, they dipped out. And actually, we're seeing a similar thing now, where once you bring in partnerships, all the teams, a lot of orgs that don't make the partnerships, they dip out. They're not interested in fielding a roster right now, which is why you don't have Toronto, even though they didn't play, and then you also don't have NRG. They got denied, and they're like, well, if we're not going to be in partnership, we don't want to be in at all. And then, obviously, the extra stuff beyond that I talked about, which again is a rumor, but then you have Space Station. Some people might be surprised about the Space Station situation. People that don't know Space Station be like, wait, this team was an EMEA. They had the London court. What happened? Well, it's actually a North American organization. People forget this is an NA team. And so Space Station would rather operate in North America than EMEA. So it makes sense for them to want to move to NA. And they did a lot that Blizzard liked. Unless Blizzard want to specifically state what their criteria was. Space Station did enough of what Blizzard liked that they were among the top 3. And then Cloud9 as a legacy or really large organization. And then NRG was the 4th best team for the partnership for whatever the criteria that Blizzard had. So in hindsight, we should have just taken NRG over Cloud9, but unfortunately we didn't know. We didn't have the foresight. We just being overall, I should say Blizzard didn't have the foresight, I guess. And I can't really fault them for that either, because C9 kind of just dipped out, and that's the timing of which C9 dipped out was really unfortunate as well.
That's
because
insane.
They dipped out after NRG was denied. Whereas if they just dipped out at the start and was like, actually, this is not for us, then they could have chosen, they being Blizzard could have just chosen NRG, and NRG would have been in, Shock would have been in, everyone's happy, we wouldn't have had any giant dramas. Andy Miller doesn't have to take to Twitter and flame Blizzard, and we're all good to go, you know?
Rack Attack might have a team.
That's crazy that Rack Attack doesn't have a team. I was surprised by that, but
if I said this on my stream earlier today as well, but if I was a player and, we're on the verge of signing one of these partner teams, like, there is an insane amount of stress involved in just like, hey, like, can we sign for this partner org? Because otherwise I have to find a team for the qualifiers. And otherwise you have situations where Rack Attack, where it seemed like he was under the impression that he was going to sign for a team associated with a partnered org. And at that point, you're directly qualified and, you're good. But then that fell through kind of like last minute, it seemed like, which could have been, a week, 2 weeks. I don't know what the date was. And then he was left trying to find a team before the open qualifiers But because he hadn't spent the offseason looking for a team, he was just kind of left with no options really, which really sucks. You know, this whole offseason, it was a really short offseason considering that DreamHack Stockholm was like 6 weeks ago, something like that, 6-7 weeks ago. Yeah. But honestly, like there was a lot of stuff here that happened in the span of a month, and you can kind of feel now that it was a little bit chaotic with how everything went down, and
especially with the holiday break too.
They could have needed another month, you know, to just get things figured out. And you know, obviously, I'm really happy about the place we're in. But you are left wondering, like, what's there a circumstance where Energy could have been a third NA team, and how would that but affected things?
I wonder what the C9 roster was going to be, and if Rack Attack was on that roster. But you have a situation now where Nightmare is basically the unofficial third partnered team. They're not actually partnered, but they're like an org that has stuck around. And shout out to Flag for actually sticking around, because most orgs would not stick around if they didn't get partner. But Nightmare is still kicking in there. And they had their own team going on.
It's a good team too.
Before we talk about the roster in real specificity, I just wanted to go over EMEA orgs really quickly because we didn't do that.
Go for it.
The EMEA orgs is interesting because there was also a rumor that there was a different org that was meant to be in there that then got replaced because they also C9 their position. There was Genji, Twisted Minds, a third org who C9 their position, and then Virtus Pro came in to replace them afterwards. So Genji is another interesting one because people would have expected them to be in Asia or Korea, but Genji are actually a pretty global team at this rate. If you actually look at their rosters, they have a history of North American and European teams. They also have a new headquarters that they've recently put in Saudi Arabia as well, so it could be a positional play from Genji as well to be more aligned with EMEA, the Middle East in general. And then the other orgs are interesting. I don't know. I feel like there were definitely some super large European orgs that we could have had that we didn't.
G2?
Yeah, I did hear rumors. I heard rumors about G2, but the thing about G2 is supposedly they wanted North America, which also doesn't surprise me because G2 wanted North America for Valorant as well. I believe they are Valorant they are North America for Valorant. And G2 have been trying to move away from being a European org to be a North American org because they prefer North America. That's an interesting story on that one. And then G2, I don't know, for some reason, either felt like the deal wasn't good enough or they weren't going to get an NA. NA was too competitive and they weren't interested in EMEA. G2 would have probably have automatically made it in EMEA if they just went for EMEA. Genji probably went for EMEA for the reasons I listed, but also because it was just easier to get into. I mean, the competition you can see here to get into EMEA actually pretty low because we didn't get any of the super giant heavy hitters. I don't know how big. I think Na'Vi is a pretty large org, but we didn't get them. Yeah. To be fair, they don't do Overwatch. I mean, a bunch of these massive European orgs don't actually really do Overwatch. If I look at Valorant,
Carmine Corp.
How big is Carmine?
I have no idea. I just know that aren't the French fans are just like massively invested in Valorant.
I guess. Another thing is we could have had Koi because Koi is Toronto Defiant. And Toronto could have just said, we'll go to EMEA as Koi. But I think I get the feeling from speaking to Adam Adamo, the CEO, that he would probably still want to play in NA, maybe as Toronto Ultra. There was Fnatic that maybe could have. Fnatic have actually that's a good one. Fnatic and Vitality. Fnatic especially is a really large org and also has history in Overwatch. Hastro was on Fnatic famously. And I don't know if they applied or not. I genuinely don't know if they applied or not. But I will say, as far as the rumor mill spins, the third mystery partner org that C9 the application for EMEA that then didn't end up being there and VP took their spot, that C9 org is one of the Valorant partnered orgs. I won't say which one.
Okay.
It's one of the Valorant partnered orgs, so I'm not going to say which one.
We'll let people speculate in the Reddit comments.
But yeah, but Twisted Minds is an interesting one. I think that's possibly like of the Middle Eastern orgs, if you already have Falcons. I don't know which one the next biggest Middle Eastern org is. It might be TM, but TM have shown a lot of loyalty to Overwatch, and they've been in Overwatch the whole time. They've been winning. I think they're a reasonably large org, and I think also from Blizzard's POV, they will probably never admit this and never want to talk about this, but given that they're in this long-term EWC thing. Probably having one of the EMEA teams be a Middle Eastern team makes a lot of sense. And then obviously VP was the team that came in to replace the third mystery team. And VP is a pretty decent org, but like they're like not. I don't know. Do you think they're a big org? I think they're like a reasonably big. They're like a well-known org, but they don't do a lot of stuff outside of Counter-Strike.
They have a lot of history in European esports, and I felt like they were always around in like Dota as well. When I worked Dota events, I'm pretty sure they did a lot of Dota. And so I think it makes them, makes a ton of sense because they are an EMEA org, but they are mostly known for CS and Dota. I don't know if VP hits as hard as an NRG would, for example, for partner
Overwatch
teams.
Fans, no.
For Overwatch fans, yeah, specifically Overwatch fans, which is what we're talking about here, realistically, right? I feel like Team Liquid is the one that kind of like transcends the other esports. Like I have plenty of people who aren't into esports, but they still know of Team Liquid as that kind of like premier casual organization.
Casual organization.
No. What I mean is, of course, because like people who aren't hardcore fans of esports, like they've heard of Team Liquid before, right? In passerby. So I feel like Team Liquid is a great pickup, and I'm excited to have them in OWCS. But yeah,
I think that's the biggest one. Outside of getting T1 back, Team Liquid being in is the biggest win for OWCS.
Yeah, I wish NRG was there though. I will say, and who knows? I don't know how long these agreements are. It says 2025, so maybe this 1-year agreements. We don't know this stuff yet, but yeah. You ready to move on to some other stuff? We got some more goodies for this mini episode. I'll keep scrolling down here though. They have some little notes here about all the partner teams. And then is there anything else here? So here you go. Open qualifiers, regular season, Friday, Sunday. They got these weekends listed out. They got the playoffs, promotion, relegation dates. So this is for stage 1, North American EMEA. Champions Clash in April. Does it say?
Just a note. Korea starts a week earlier, if I'm not mistaken. Korea starts next week on May 24th, which would be your 23rd. So yeah, North American and European 23rd,
yeah, it's next
and
week.
Asia 24th.
Let's go.
So Asia starts in a week earlier. China only got announced recently, so we didn't actually talk China, the LAN event in Hangzhou. We didn't get to talk about that in the last Plat Chat. So on this Plat Chat here, we can sort of discuss the fact that the first event is going to be in China. Might also be worth noting that there are no North American events. So I think to very few surprise, the middle event is going to be Esports World Cup again, but this time it's not Esports World Cup, it's mid-season championship, but it is at Esports World Cup. I think it probably surprises a few people out there. I think the thing that surprised me a little bit more was both the lack of a North American event and also Stockholm, Sweden being back. Now that's fine, but it might have just been a calendar thing. I don't know why we don't have a Swedish event. I understand why we have a China event. I think it's really important for Blizzard to like go back and just hit China hard and be like, yo, we're back in China. We're really back in China, guys. And like, first event, boom, China, send it.
It is
we'll
epic,
send China as much as possible. So it makes total sense why we're back in China. Straight away, the game is launched again. Straight back into OWCS. First land's going to be China. Blizzard want to hit China as hard as possible, and I fully get it. Event number 2, World Cup. Okay, I get it. Basically, we're just repeating what we did last year. Event number 3 probably could have been the North American event, but I think it must be a calendar issue because based on the scheduling, perhaps DreamHack Stockholm just plans better for us. I can't think of a better reason.
I mean, the calendar was, it's really good. If we're starting in like, a couple of weeks, and then we go all the way until the end of November. I'm just assuming it's kind of like the same dates, which it might say in the calendar. I'm not sure here. Oh, it doesn't actually. But that's a great calendar year. So yeah, and also it's a DreamHack. It's a DreamHack event. So if you have that DreamHack partnership, it's so much easier to spin that up rather than offloading it to an org like the Toronto playoffs, for example. I mean, I have no insight into that, but that was, Toronto very confidently. They had a stage 3 finals in 2022. I think it was 22. And then, you know, that was a recipe for success. Just like, okay, we can go back to Toronto. We got a passionate fan base. Let's hold the playoffs there. It's going to be hype. But that was, you know, like a brand new event that Toronto helped out with, and Toronto had a lot of support with that event. This is just a DreamHack event. So I have no doubt in my mind that it was going to be a DreamHack event, whether it was in North America or EMEA. And I guess Stockholm is the best choice then.
When I go to the DreamHack website right now, Stockholm is not even listed yet. So basically, OWCS is just leaked. DreamHack Stockholm is returning. Because right now, they have Shanghai 2025 TBD, Dallas May 23, 25th, which could have been the midseason again, but... You know,
it doesn't actually say DreamHack here anywhere, I'm pretty sure. But
is it?
I can't see the DreamHack wording. No, it just says...
Go back to the
it just says
go back
World
to the
Finals. I mean, that is the stage, but it doesn't actually say DreamHack.
I don't know what else you would be doing in Stockholm, because here's the thing. DreamHack makes sense because I think as far as the Faceit partnership goes between Blizzard and Faceit for like operations of the league, operations of the esport, they probably want an event to be a DreamHack. You lose an event in Hangzhou. You the World Cup's a weird one. Faceit do operate that, but it's not their brand. So up to debate whether they consider that part of their thing or not. So you only have one more event left. Got to be at a DreamHack. And the reason why I say this is like, when I talked to Adam Madamu, he also mentioned that he offered to have the finals hosted in Toronto again. And if it was hosted in Toronto, maybe Toronto would have a better buy-in to return back to Overwatch this year. And so it's not like there weren't other options, but I think DreamHack was just like important as part of the Faceit Blizzard sort of situation. And perhaps Stockholm just lined up date-wise because you can't have multiple DreamHacks over the same period of time.
Yeah,
if there's only one DreamHack in November and it's Stockholm, then that's the final.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense to me, because like they have this partnership to just help out with all this organizing and tournament organization and stuff like that. So I don't think I can see a world right now where like either of the NA or EU event isn't at a DreamHack. That just, you know, we were at DreamHack Dallas last year and we're at DreamHack Stockholm. And I think, you know, some people even were like, hey, we get like an event in Japan or something. Like that would have to coincide with something like DreamHack Tokyo or something in my mind anyway. The fact we have an event in China is really exciting. EWC or mid-season championship, whatever you want to call it, no surprises there. And then I think the question is just like, where do we hold this finals event, really? Because also, you have to keep in mind that the finals was actually pretty sick. The finals was pretty sick. I think the end result, it was a good finals. We know that it wasn't going to be like freaking Worlds, but it was a really good World Finals considering, you know, expectations going into it. So why wouldn't you go with the same organizer? I think the location could have been discussed at least, like where are we going to hold this thing? Are we going to keep it the same spot? But by all accounts, it was a great World Final. So like, let's run it back with the same organizer. And again, that's why I just think it's a DreamHack event. But,
you know, it would have been really sick if DreamHack Shanghai lined up with the calendar. There's not been a publicly announced date for DreamHack Shanghai, but there is one for 2025. We just don't know when it is.
Oh.
So that's a little unfortunate that didn't line up. Because then you could have doubled up. You could have had a DreamHack event and your China event all in one.
I wonder if this is the first China event since APAC 2017. McGravy was playing for Envision. This is way back in the freaking in the history books here. But
China homestands. I don't know if you count the China homestands.
That is fair, I suppose.
we
didn't have any Western players go to those. We just had the East players, I suppose, like Korean and Asia players. No,
actually, that's not true. The LA Valiant were there. Okay, Los Angeles organization. No. Los Angeles organization was there. Dallas Fuel actually did not go.
No.
Any of the China homestands. Actually, I think China homestands were only in 2021, and then we didn't have any homestands in 2022.
Dude, Valiant were going to go to a lot of those. They were going to go to a lot of those in China during the COVID year. And then COVID happened. And all right, sorry, I just had to do it. I just had to put it up. APEC Premier 2017. Let's go, dude. $235,000 prize pool. Guest commentator McGravy with Jason Kaplan and Jamerson. Show players. Look at this. Oh my God, stacked. Miraculous Youngsters, GC Busan, Runaway. And then we got Blank Esports, Gunba, Trill, and Envision Esports with Big Gravy, Jaru. Wow, look at that. What a tournament. 2017, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. All right, we should move on here because we got quite a few things to go to, and I wanted this to be at least somewhat rapid here. So let's see what we got next here. Hey, you were in some news. They announced the English co-streaming lineup for OWCS Asia Stage 1. It was you, Commander X, and Unter. And, this starts next week, I assume then?
Yeah,
January
starts
27th.
day 1 of Korea, so
the drops start on January 27th.
Sorry, yeah, the matches start next week, but the drops for the first 3 Korea days, for whatever reason, couldn't be finalized. So drops don't officially start until Japan on the 27th. But so, yeah, obviously it's awesome to be one of the officially featured co-streamers. There's only 3 of us for Asia, but it does come at a bit of a bittersweet cost if you look in the same tweet and highlight the section that says Stage 1 will feature 5 official English broadcast days right under broadcast schedule. Essentially what that means is every stage, of which there are 3 stages, there's only 5 broadcast days. So there's a reason why there's featured co-streamers, is because there's only 15 total English broadcast days for the year, essentially 5 per stage. And so English coverage will now be essentially done via myself and the and X and Unter here. So it's really, very beneficial for the 3 of us. But as a caster myself, it is quite sad that there is essentially not going to be a regular season English broadcast from what that means. But I mean, so it is bittersweet. It's good in the sense yay, amazing. I'm very thankful for the privilege of being one of the featured co-streamers. That's amazing. But man, we essentially don't have that English broadcast anymore, except for the playoff days, or 5 days per stage.
Yeah, I just think lacking the whole official production element for a broadcast like that really stinks. And we've been seeing more of this. I believe in League of Legends, they don't have an English Pacific broadcast, and so some of the League of Legends talents had to come together China,
Valorant and League of Legends for China, actually.
And they had to make an effort because they were just like, well, there's no English broadcast for this region, and so we're the talent are gonna keep it running via a watch party co-stream instead. And honestly, it quite sucks, to be frank with you. Nothing, you understandably understand, it's not nothing towards you, Commander X or Hunter, but just having an official broadcast, an official YouTube channel, somewhere to store the VODs, and the production that comes with having a broadcast like that, even if they're just ripping a feed from the Korean broadcast or whatever. It quite sucks. And I know people had different opinions about the broadcast last year, stuff like that, but I just think missing the official broadcast element is going to it's going to be missed. And so we'll tune in to you guys instead.
Complaints about the broadcast can always be improved, but not having a broadcast at all, again, I'll be specific, not having a broadcast for the regular season and only having it for playoffs is you're just missing out on a chunk of everything you mentioned. So I don't think losing the majority of the broadcast is an ideal situation at all. With that, Korean broadcast is obviously still there, and that's the main production, but they are moving to Soup exclusively, which is the Korean streaming platform. Soup is either, which one is it? I think Soup is Afrika. I think Afrika renamed to Soup, and then they have CHZZK, which is Naver. So those are the 2 main broadcasting platforms, but I think it's exclusively on Soup now, which used to be Afrika. So what does that mean? That means essentially, if you want to watch this if you want to watch an official broadcast on Twitch, you essentially only have the Japanese language broadcast. I think maybe the Japanese language broadcast is still on YouTube as well, but there's no YouTube Korean broadcast anymore. It's on Soup. And then it's the 3 of us co-streamers on Twitch and then the Japanese stream whenever that happens. Japanese broadcast. I think they also broadcast Korea, maybe. Yeah. So
maybe because it's the Korean stream or whatever, and you're featuring like a second language or whatever. But I think it's scary to some degree, because it's so much harder for people to follow an esport if they have to find whoever is like broadcasting those matches. If that's not a given, just the simple fact of having like a go-to esports channel you can tune into reliably, whether it's freaking boomers tuning into TV and they always go to the same TV channel, or it's tuning into like the same Twitch stream always. And obviously in Commander X's case, Commander X is usually on the case and broadcasting all these, right? But I think you can pretty confidently say that despite the fact that Commander X provided insane coverage for FACEIT last year, FACEIT would have performed way better and seen way more viewers had they actually provided like a regular season official channel, or God willing, the Overwatch Esports channel would have broadcasted the FACEIT League instead, right? Like, there's just way more upside potential, rather for people to discover that FACEIT League is a product they want to watch and they have to tune in to Commander X to do so. But in this case, of course, what I'm trying to highlight is the missing of like an official channel that broadcasts the Korea show days. So the consistent factor of not having like a go-to broadcast channel for all things Overwatch Esports, I just think it's a miss. To be honest.
There's definitely, I mean, you can tell there's some budgeting issues here, because Asia, for what it's worth, probably, I don't know if they spent more than NAEU, but they definitely had more going on that optically make it look like they spent more, because they had 2 Korean LANs last year where they invited 4 non-Korean teams to Korea, which does incur a cost. You're talking about 4 teams of 6 players, 5 and a sub, and housing them for at least 4 days, more than that, because you have media days and stuff like that as well. And you did that twice a year. And so there's a reason why some people might not realize this yet, but it was in the rule book as well. And so this is, and the rule book is public for what it's worth. And this was Ryan Axis, the manager of Bleed, who no longer exists as a team. The org doesn't anyway, posted publicly that like they were no longer going to be essentially giving opportunities for those non-Korean teams to go to LAN. I mean, technically speaking, there are, but you have to. The LAN is only for top 4 now. The Korea LAN is only for top 4 teams in all of Asia, which essentially means unless you are the T1 Falcons, Crazy Crusaders of the world, teams, you're not going to the LAN. So if you are a Pacific team like Bleed used to be, you're not going to LAN. So it is essentially a way where, technically speaking, if you somehow beat one of the 4 partner teams, you get to go to LAN, which would be really awesome, by the way. Not awesome for WDG or Blizzard, because they would like to not pay that cost. But removing their own LAN slots within Asia itself is definitely a cost-cutting procedure, because clearly it was a bit of a cost last year. And then removing broadcast days is that again. So I think there's just cost issues for the broadcast in general. We need more sponsors, man. Like, this is maybe getting too far away from the discussion, but I think to start to turn this around, viewership is one thing, but we need to start picking up some decent sponsorship, because we didn't really have much of that last year, especially in AU.
Yeah, I mean, sponsors is one thing, but I'm curious as well how much plays into this whole, like, FACEIT is organizing 2 regions, and then the other region is organized by, what's it, WDG?
WDG.
Yeah, and like, what I miss about the Overwatch League to some degree is that everything was just like on the same page, like everything was just streamlined across one channel, and you had access to both regions, when it did split into North America and then to Asia, like East and West, it was still on the same channel. And I just feel like it's still a little bit too split up, the way things are organized this day and age. And I don't know how you work around that, but it's, I think it's at least hurting the esport a little bit. I don't know to what extent, but I think it's hurting the esport that we're like kind of in between this open system of Counter-Strike or whatever you will. And then we're also kind of trying to be like a partnered, organized esport. And we're kind of like stuck in between. And I don't think because of the history of Overwatch that we could ever go back to like an open ecosystem where like third-party tournament organizers, they're just gonna put on stuff and they're tournaments all the time, and Overwatch Esports can just sit back and just like do your thing. I do think that for at least this life cycle, I think Overwatch, we're going to be a Blizzard managed esport, and with that I think comes a lot of I think it makes a lot of sense to like put everything on one channel and then outsource that work, for the sake of the esport. I don't know if you disagree with any of that, but I do think it kind of stings a little bit to not have something simple as an English broadcast for like the best region in the world.
It's because it's the best region in the world. That's not why it doesn't have a broadcast. It being the best region in the world is what caused a lot of difficulties for this league, for this esport in general in the game. And it comes down to the fact that Faceit don't really have any type of large operations in Korea or that side of the world. It's not like they haven't done stuff there. I mean, they've had IEM. Everyone remembers IEM Gyeonggi, right? Not a very amazing event, but it existed. And yes, they have DreamHack in Shanghai. Have they done something in Japan? I think they have. But like, that's not their main base. Faceit typically operate in NA and EU specifically because that's where all the Counter-Strike stuff is. And so that's where they're strongest for operations. Yeah, I mean, they just don't have the capability to do what WDG do, where they have a regular LAN studio and could do LAN every week with the players in venue. Faceit would have to partner with WDG anyway to do that. And so there's just a whole bunch of like messiness there. Overwatch is a weird esport because it wants to be a game that mostly markets to NA, EU, and English-speaking audience, and that is what it's trying to do. Like that's where all the resources were always. You look at Overwatch League, where did 90% of the resources get put on? Was the English broadcast. Every other broadcasting, the China broadcast for a while was pretty good on Bilibili, but then like basically you look at the Korean broadcast, the China broadcast, everywhere else, it just wasn't to the same level of investment as English, because English was always the main audience. You could also argue that we don't know what the actual China audience numbers is because the numbers are always kind of weird, but at least when you looked at the verifiable numbers, English-speaking audience was always the largest. North America or English was always the largest. And so it's a weird esport where like you want to primarily cater to the English audience, but then your best teams are from Korea. So what are you supposed to do with that? So it causes weird issues.
You get 4 Asian partner teams and 2 North American. That's what you do. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, 4 Asia partner teams, 2 slots to go to LAN with the potential to maybe get more slots when they do, not even if. When
They've
they do
already
well
guaranteed that 2 partner teams won't make the finals with this system. Which I guess maybe they did anyway because there'd be 3 NA. And so I just... that was really stupid of me to say, actually, because even if you had 3 NA teams, only 2 of them would make it, so it didn't matter.
Yeah, but it is weird. It is a sad, bit of a sad look when your best region, not even like debatable, it is just your best region, like unanimously agreed upon best region, provably, factually the best region by now, as you can just look at all the results, has the most partnered orgs, but has essentially no English broadcasts outside of 15 days. And at least last year, the least amount of international slots. This year, still 2 slots, but at least everyone's only got 2 slots. So you can't say they have the least anymore, but they still only have 2.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we've kind of hammered that point home now. This did get announced just 5 minutes before we started recording, kind of.
Let's go.
It's the rosters. It's the rosters for the teams themselves. So the text is pretty small. I don't know how to make this bigger. I think I'd have to like copy image and go to a new tab or something. But I'll just read it out because there might be some people listening on audio as well. So Team Falcons, Proper Stalker, Hanbin, Chio, Fielder, Summerjed, Crazy Raccoon, Lip, Hisang, Junbin, Max, Chorong, Shu, and Zeta Division, Alfie, Pelican, Flora, Bernard, Finn, Violet. Any surprises?
So after all of the rumor mill spinning,
all the rumors,
all of the rumors and all of the memes, I participated in the memes.
I retweeted the Chio meme, AVRL.
All the bullshit. It was a good meme, let's be honest.
It was a good meme.
All the crap. It turns out that we're just gonna run it back with the 3 same rosters as last year, except Smurf is retired, so now it's all on Harmon's shoulders. There was a rumor that someone being Ham, someone Florida Mayhem, Toronto Defiant, or possibly Merit. There was a rumor that both someone and Merit were going to join Falcons because Stalker was apparently out, and while someone and Merit are on the market. Now, Stalker and Humber are still in there. To be honest with you, I think proper Stalker is a better DPS line anyway, so I'm cool with this. The only weakness is if we get into any like super Winston type metas, Humber's in trouble. So that's an interesting situation. You also have to consider that there's only one tank on this lineup. I believe the roster limit is now 6. You might have to correct me on that if I'm mistaken. The roster limit is smaller, so they can't have like a giant roster. I don't know if it's 6 or if it's like 7 or what, but like they just haven't replaced their tank.
Well, Pokerface has 7. So.
Okay, so it might be 7 then. It might be 7. But either way, they don't have a secondary tank. Team Falcons might still look for a secondary tank. I don't know. Hee-Sung is available.
Hee-Sung, I was about to say.
He got dropped from Zeta, though. So Zeta didn't want him. So I don't... But then again, Bernard's been an insane solo tank. So I think that's fine as well. There were rumors, by the way, that Pelican was going to NA. Apparently that didn't happen. So a bunch of these rumors... look, maybe some of them could have been true and they were on the way to being true. And then the players or the orgs were like, nah, this is not going to happen. And then Pelican's like, just stay on Zeta then. You know, it could have been the case. We don't know. The only team we don't know now that we are interested is T1. Confirmed that there's no T1 roster yet, correct?
No, there is.
There is. Okay, here we go.
It's T1 is Cest, Proud, Viper, Donghack, Opener, Skewed.
Okay, where the hell are someone in Merit? Because I thought they were on T1.
Yep.
It turns out someone... Imagine
Hee-Sung is from the gamer, so there you go.
Imagine Hee-Sung and Merit just ended up on Vesta Crew, Vec Dejon. I swear. Okay, are they in NA? Like, where did these guys go? Like, what? Are they on... They
have to be.
Are they... Bro, where did they go? I thought they were T1. The rumor was that someone and Merit were either on T1 or Falcons. And both would have made sense to me. I don't know what you think about this T1 roster, but immediately they look like the 4th best team in Korea to me and not top 3. Now, they are competitive. Don't get me wrong. I think they got good pieces. I think Proud is going to be... I've said for a while now, for like the last year plus, this guy is like... He's up there, man. He's really, 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 really up there. He's like elite level. This guy could legitimately be on Crazy Raccoon, Falcon, Zeta, and you would not only not see a difference, you would probably see an improvement. Not see a difference, meaning that he would be on par with the level of players that are already there. But actually, I think he'd be an improvement. I would actually probably have Proud instead of Flora on Zeta. Easily. So, T1 got a real winner there. That's a real winning pick there.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think you look at this roster, and there's a part of you that thinks of something similar to Soul Infernal, because obviously, Cest is on there as well. But in terms of like strength, we're just like, these guys are not tier 1, but they're kind of like punching upwards. They're like the tier below, right? But you look at the roster, and I think I agree with you. Like Donghack, Opener, Skewed, like they're not one of these tier 1 names besides Donghack's time on Atlanta Reign, I suppose, in the last Overwatch League season. Skewed had his time on the LA Gladiators for a little bit as well there. But I think I agree with you in that, like, I have faith in all of these guys. I don't look at a single name here and I'm like, that's out of place. Like, that feels weird. We'll see how they perform. I do think that, you just go through some of these rosters. So I'll read out the other ones as well. Pokerface, got Alien Dart, Spint, Heiser, Gurium, Donghun, Misin, and then there's a roster called Wei with Aid. Who Are You, Peppy, Milgaru, Lee Sumin, and Maka. That looks pretty okay to me as well. And I'll just read out the other ones as well. We've got Vesta Crew is back with Minute, Architect, Finally, Farmer, Spinal, Jinsung, Wuchan, From the Gamer, Prophet, Sunjun, Hee-Sung, Vigilante, Vindime. That sounds pretty exciting as well. And New Era has Archie, Dodo, Fearful, Ruler, MCD, Kivis, and Search. So, I think you can quite easily just like, who's are like top 4, who's are middle of the pack, and who are maybe the ones punching upwards. But
say this.
From the game, it looks pretty exciting too. Outside
of missing out on someone in Merit, T1 look like they got the best of the rest, which is both like, it's like a backhanded compliment. It's not even really a compliment, really. It's just they got the best of what was available. that is not already on Falcons, Crazy Raccoons data, because those 3 teams have had the chokehold on Korean talent, again, outside of someone in Merit, for the entire time. With Happy and Smurf retiring as well, I don't have access to that. What's interesting is if you compare T1's roster to the Fnatic roster from Esports World Cup, which is essentially the last time we saw that core play together, would you rather have this T1 roster of Zest, Proud, Viper, Dongak, Opener, Skewed, or Knife, Viper, Checkmate, Dongak, Attack, Lee Jigon, Izayaki?
Ooh.
Right? See, that's an interesting question.
Ooh. I think I would have honestly gone Fnatic last year. It's so hard to say with, you know, some of those players in 2025, but I feel like I would have gone Fnatic from last year, I think, actually.
On paper, they sound stronger. But then remember, Fnatic, they didn't bomb out of EWC, but Fnatic, what did they finish? They finished top...
I'm not pulling it up, I'm sorry.
Ninth, 12th. They finished 9th, 12th out of 16 teams, losing to ENCE in the round of 16, technically. It was around 16. So, was it? Okay, the round of whatever. It's like it's a round of 8 before a round of 8. So they lost to ENCE 2-4. So that Fnatic roster that we think probably on paper looks better than T1 lost to ENCE last year. Now you could say that's just one best of 7. Maybe they just sucked at hero bans. I can actually quite as a person that casted the match, I can tell you they lost the final map in Midtown map 6 because they just didn't know how to play Brawl. They just didn't know how to brawl on Midtown into ENCE's poke composition. They didn't know how to TP, apparently. Very frustrating to watch. But part of the issues I said for that matchup that I think are still true today, I'll say this much. I think Proud being on the roster is amazing. I've already mentioned that. But Opener, Skewed. Okay, Skewed had a great history. I think he's still good. Opener, he's had some good runs. Not an elite Chio or Chorong type of player, though. So if you want to compete with the other, I honestly, even despite the memes, Violet is still really, really, really good. Even despite all the Ajaxes, I still wouldn't put Opener above Violet. So that's a problem for you on that position. Lijigon and Izayaki probably are washed by now. So maybe you could argue, okay, we'd rather have Opener Skewed because Lijigon and Izayaki are actually washed. Possibly. Okay, that's fine.
It is possible. It is possible they're washed.
Dongak has hero pool issues. This is something I talked about last year. He has hero pool issues. He was not comfortable in a solo tanking position at Esports World Cup last year. This is why they had Attack on the team, to fill in the off tanks. But then they couldn't win with Attack because he didn't have, I don't know, the X factor. The in-game could have been leadership, IGL, some other factor. Attack didn't have it. And Dongak did, but Dongak just didn't have the hero pool. Dongak is like the opposite of Hanbin. He just has the opposite type of hero pool. He has the main tank side of the hero pool with a couple overlaps. But a really talented player, really good player. Viper and Zest are both really strong. So I think the DPS line could still round out very nicely. I think Knife is a more valuable player than either Zest or Viper, in my opinion, just because Knife essentially plays what they all play, but then also has a hit scan pool on top. Knife is like a mini proper Stalker in that he just has that Hyperflex hero pool, which is very exciting.
There's some strong rumors that he's in NA, that Knife is in NA.
And I believe he's rumored for Liquid. Liquid should be announcing their roster in like 5 hours from now, and like they'll announce their rumor after we post this episode.
No, it's in like 4 days or something like that.
Oh, is it?
I'm pretty sure.
Well,
so
we don't have anyway. It's going to be way after this. So
and then
whatever it is.
Yeah, and then I mean, I was watching Tree play ranked earlier, and he was in a game with Kellan. So he wasn't playing with Kellan, but Kellan was on his team. So you can imagine Kellan is playing in NA with someone.
There's only 2 NA partnered orgs. Kellan is a tank for Liquid, or at least one of the orgs. So is someone on the other org? Is someone on SSG?
Maybe
is someone on Liquid? Like what? What team is someone on? What's going on here?
SSG did release those that kind of like hint or whatever, but I think they're literally announcing tomorrow, so we're not gonna bring that up now. I wanted this to be a shorter episode, but I wanted to ask you one final question here on the rosters before we move on. So kind of like in that territory you were already on, I wanted to ask you, would you rather have Opener Skewed, or would you rather have Vinda and Vigilante as your backline?
Yeah, Give me MCD Kivas. No, give me I would rather have, honestly, I would rather have Opener than Vindime. I think Vindime.
We memed about Vindime on my stream today. Like we were watching Vindime POV today, so I like Vigilante Vindime.
He was so good in 2022, and then flopped so hard in 2023.
He went the full FD God, where like FD God got picked up by Shock and then crashed out, and now FD God is like consistent main support again in Europe.
Well, the difference is that I think Vindime had like an insane run, whereas like FD God was like, okay, I don't know if he had ever the same level of insane run. Remember, Vindime came into Overwatch League 2022, instantly won Stage 1. First time as a rookie, as a brand new rookie, win Stage 1. Holy crap! And he like was diffing Lee Jigon and shit. I was like, wow, this guy's insane. So no, to answer your question, I'd rather have Opener, Vigilante, or Skewed. That's a tough one. I don't know. I haven't seen Vigilante in a long time. What team was he on last year? What was he doing? Vindime. Oh, sorry. Was he benched?
Wait, wasn't he on a Saudi org? No?
He was on Twisted Minds. Did he?
Yeah, I was on Twisted Minds, yeah, for a little bit.
He played,
5 months.
Right? Did he play or not?
And he was on Runaway at the start for a little bit as well for 2 months, so I don't know if he played. While you figure that out, I got 2 more shorter news before we end this. Was supposed to be a mini episode turned into an hour. So you figure that out, AVRL. I got 2 more pieces. I'll start with this one. It's very brief while you look for that answer. Hastro announced that he was recently given the chance to reacquire Envy along with Dallas Fuel and Dallas Empire brand. So good for Hastro. He was trying to do some kind of like exchange betting crypto. I don't know. I don't want to throw around. I don't want to throw around the word crypto lightly, but I don't know what this is. Play trade-off. Daily fantasy. Sorry, not crypto. Daily fantasy. My bad. But yeah, I was trying to do some daily fantasy.
That logo, by the way, the audio listeners won't be able to see this, but that logo from that trade-off thing, it is strangely within the theme of both Envy and Dallas Fuel. It's like he's keeping the burn blue, kind of this blue theme going on.
Yeah.
And it's kind of got that like
Learn,
the
compete,
NV look. I don't know.
So it's not even launched yet, so you know I'm not even gonna say he's trying to do it, but yeah, so there you go. Envy seems to be back, and they picked up an Apex roster they announced today, so they're starting to be back.
I'll just quickly finish what I was going to say about Vigilante.
Yep.
So he played for a bit, and then I can't remember, he dropped out at some stage, and they Bliss and MCD on the team. And honestly, given that, I don't know, I haven't seen Vigilante enough. I'd rather take Skewed. I saw Skewed more recently. I think he still looked good. I'd rather have Opener Skewed than Vigilante Vindime, to answer your question, correct?
Okay. There we go.
And also, I think fifth position in Korea is pretty competitive between From the Gamer and either Way or Pokerface. From the Gamer should be fifth, though. Anyway, Envy. So I don't know the full story behind the scenes. It's interesting because I thought Hastro essentially did Hex a solid. Hex was the previous owner of Optic before he sold it. Hex sold Optic to... can't remember who he sold it to, but he sold Optic away. And
dude, it's crazy. They're making fucking sick bank just selling their legacy brands, and then they're rebuying them when everyone was out.
And then Hex lost control. I think Hex was still attached to Optic, but he wasn't the majority owner anymore, something like that. And he lost control of the Optic brand, and it became all this other crap that he didn't want it to be. And then he bought it back with Hastro's help. From what I understand, maybe my understanding could be wrong, but just from my perspective, Hastro kind of bailed Hex out and kind of allowed Hex to obtain the Optic brand back. So I don't quite understand how Hastro lost the Envy brand when I thought he was the guy that was like in charge. I thought he was above Hex, if that makes sense. HECZ Hex, by the way, in case people are wondering. I'm talking about hexagrams from Overwatch. Because essentially when Hastro got Optic back for Hex, they then merged Envy into Optic because I guess they felt Optic was the bigger brand. I think factually speaking, objectively, it was the bigger brand. So they're like, okay, well, let's just be one brand instead of two teams. Let's be one team together. Let's just all be Optic. And so the Envy brand was shelved. But in my mind, unless something massive changed behind the scenes or my understanding is completely wrong, I thought Hastro was the boss. I thought he was in charge. How did he lose the Envy brand and have to buy back his own brand? Did he not already own the brand? That's so strange to me. Something behind the scenes must have been completely off from my understanding.
Those Call of Duty org runners, they're just they work overtime behind the scenes, selling, transferring, migrating, retrieving, returning.
He bet it on the crypto market. And he said to win it back.
It's absurd. They find these buyers for Call of Duty League, and then they find ways to get the brands back. And there was all that. I think with Optic Gaming and then Chicago something. That is just like so far beyond my comprehension. Like I don't get it, and I don't understand how like the fans interact with that either. They sued Blizzard or something because they like what they've done to the esport. It's just completely absurd stuff. But anyway, I think that's beside Hastro. Hastro got Envy back, so good for him. Seems like it's his child, his passion project.
I didn't even know he lost it. That's the crazy part. Yeah. The surprise here is I didn't even know he lost it in the first place.
Yeah, no, I think they just merged.
That's what it is.
All right, we're going to wrap this up. But first, there's a little bit of drama. There's drama about the Open Qualifiers, AVRL. You might have been asleep. I don't know if you saw this, but maybe you did.
I might have been asleep.
Arius, official statement from Arius. Through this statement, we wish to formally express our stance regarding a situation we deem unfair and contrary to the rules established by the FACEIT regulations in the context of Overwatch Championship Series OWCS. Unfortunately, our team did not qualify for the double elimination bracket due to a tie with the top 16 in the book hole score. This outcome, while already extremely close, was directly influenced by an irregularity. In the first round, we faced a team composed primarily of platinum-ranked players. According to FACEIT's official rule set, this should not have been permitted because FACEIT only allow players who are Masters 1 and up. Because, there are like tons of teams who obviously won't be able to win the thing or qualify. I go on. This situation was further exacerbated by the fact that the aforementioned team withdrew from the competition immediately after losing their match against us. Their early withdrawal had a significant negative impact on our book hole score, which ultimately cost us the opportunity to advance to the next stage of the tournament. In essence, our inability to qualify was not due to a lack of competitive merit, but rather the result of a team whose participation was against the rules, competing in a single match, and subsequently leaving the tournament. We respectfully urge the responsible entities, including FACEIT and Blizzard, to thoroughly review this case. We request a detailed examination of the circumstances and ask for implementation of measures to ensure fairness in future events. We strongly believe that such situations should not be allowed to occur, as they harm not only the teams directly affected, but also the competitive integrity of the tournament as a whole. So basically, a team of Plats who shouldn't have been able to sign up in the first place signed up for the qualifiers, played one match against this team, and withdrew, which meant that this team, who were extremely close when it comes to the qualifier score, missed out on day 3 and 4, which is the bracket stage, because this team of Plats, who shouldn't have been able to sign up in the first place, did, and lost the match and then withdrew. So this team, if they are to be believed, by the way, I haven't confirmed this by any means, but this team just got completely scamassed by a bunch of Plat players who shouldn't have competed in the first place. Mm-hmm. And now they're screwed and they missed out, even though they did everything they could.
This is
hilarious, but also tragic.
It's sad. Really tragic.
Yeah.
It's clearly a situation where if you're FACEIT, you're like, shit, what do we do? Because obviously the thing that you should have done is not allow the Plat team to play in the first place. But unfortunately, you can't go back in time. So there's no good solution in the current timeline where it's like, okay, well, this happened. Can't change the fact that it happened. So what do? You can't replay the games. We don't have time to do that based on schedule. You can't just auto-qualify Arius in either because it will come at the cost of another team, and they'll say it's unfair. So
you have to do a tiebreaker in hindsight, which also is kind of weird. You need FACEIT to look into it and be like, okay, this was an irregularity. We missed this. And now we're going to force a tiebreaker, which it might even be too freaking late. The other team is like, oh, we made it. So it just sucks for Arius. Wow.
Essentially, FACEIT did make a mistake, but there's no actual legitimate way to fix this mistake now in the current timeline because there's no good outcome that would be fair anymore to another team. Because if you made them play a tiebreaker, the other team might be like, well, screw that, we made it. Why do we have to play? You know what I mean? It gets into a really strange territory. FACEIT just shouldn't have made the mistake in the first place, but now that they have, it's like impossible to fix. Well, they can fix it in the future, but they can't fix it for areas right now, right?
Yeah, I mean, the rules are the rules. It just flat out sucks. I don't have a solution, but I felt the need to highlight this post and this drama because it's I don't even know.
This is a pretty light day for drama. If this is the most dramatic thing that happened, I need to go to watch Overwatch TMZ to see if there's better drama. This is a very light day of drama, so.
Wow. it's my kind of drama. There's some drama that I just refuse to highlight, but
apparently soon everyone remembers Overwatch League player Soon returning back to Overwatch was drama and made it to Overwatch TMZ. I don't know how that is drama, but Soon's back.
Who are you exposing Saudi E-League team is? This is decent drama. Not getting paid.
Victory Esports. Another org not paying their players. How many is that? We have Makers. Okay, these aren't all Saudi. These are Makers, some Italian org that was like Hunter and Punk's team at the World Cup, didn't pay the team. Bleed, which actually was like supposedly a pretty big org. They were in a VCT and everything. Didn't pay the Pacific team, didn't pay a bunch of the other teams. And then some Saudi E-League teams now, like Victory Esports. To be fair, I've never heard of Victory Esports before. Any small org has a chance of being shady, so apparently they haven't paid their team.
I think Albert or something came out on Twitter as well. So this is someone responding. I don't know who actually this is. They literally have an egg profile and they just have VTR Fraggy or something, which is Victory Esports. Hello everyone, today I want to address this misunderstanding and exploitation by some players. And then it goes on to say, regarding salaries, all payments were made except for 3,000 SAR, not 6,000 as falsely claimed. So basically confirming that there's missing payments, but it's the wrong amount according to them.
We owe you money,
but
it's only half the money you think it is.
And then if this player has any legitimate rights, the Saudi Esports Federation is available for complaints. So who are you? Keep at it. You figure that out and maybe you get paid your 3,000 SAR. Or however much you're owed. So there you go. There's the drama news to end the episode. AVRL, I'll say as well. You released a new interview I saw with Stylosa just like an hour ago.
Yeah, yep. That was what I was up all night doing and why I've got no sleep. So, but yeah, I got it out. I technically made my deadline of today. I wanted to make sure I got it out weekly. Yes, I have a brand new show that I'm doing. I really wanted to nothing against the regular shows that I do currently with you guys or anything else, but I was like, I really want to do a solo thing and just do some stuff I'm really interested in. And so yeah, here it is. This is my second episode. My first one was with Adam Adamu, CEO of Toronto Defiant, asking him essentially why they weren't in OWCS this year. That was a great episode. Check that one out if you didn't. I thought it was a really a lot of people thought they liked that episode too. So really insightful episode from Adam detailing why they did not play, they did not want to return this year in OWCS. And then this one is with Stylosa, basically talking about a lot of the his historical stories of his experience dealing with Blizzard. He got to know Jeff pretty well. I think of all the content creators that we had in Overwatch, he was one of the content creators that had more and better insight on Jeff Kaplan than any other content creator because he got to have more in-depth conversations. He met Jeff Kaplan more, as far as I am aware. I don't know of any other content creator that got to have as much hands-on experience with Blizzard staff and with Jeff Kaplan specifically as Stylosa did, because Stylosa was also there from day one. A lot of the big content creators for Overwatch now, and they're great people like Flats and whatever, but they weren't there day one the way Stylosa was, right? So Stylosa was there from beginning, so he saw all the different stories. He was there for London Spitfire, Jacketeen, and C9, so there's a lot of history there, which is why I wanted to talk to Sty. And so he had a lot of great anecdotes and stories from way back then, and we talked a little bit about, you know, the Overwatch 2 launch situation, and all the insider stories from there as well. Really exciting stuff. So go and check me out. It's on you can find it through all my links on Twitter, or you can just check out, you can just Google and go to YouTube and type in Awfully Good with Kev Walker. That's my name.
It's great stuff, man. It's really good work. And also I love the edits you make to to intro the interviews as well. So yeah, it's great.
Those take a lot of time. That's why I was up all night. I just want to say.
And now it's time to do the timestamps. So good luck.
Yeah,
because they're missing.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Hey, good work, man. And I'm looking forward to listen to it myself because obviously you just released it, so I haven't had the time yet. But looking forward to listening to it. Thank you for stopping by, AVRL, for this Plat Chat Mini. Plat Chat Mini, an hour 10 minutes. We'll work on the length of something. Hey, man, it was a great time, man. Enjoy your day, man. Good to see you.
All right, catch you later.